Eruvei Tavshilin. When Yontef falls before Shabbos, you are not allowed to bake or cook in a separate pot from Yontef to Shabbos. The reason for that is because people might cook from Yontef to Chol. You are not allowed to cook not from Yontef to Chol, not to cook in Yontef for a goy. As it says in Parshas Boy, Kol malocho lo yaso bohem. Ach, asher yeochel lechol nefesh, hu levado yase lochem. Chazal says, lochem is a miut, and not for a oivet koichovim mazolos. הוא לבדו ולא מכשירוב שאפשר לעשויתום מערב יום טוב. לוחם ולא לנוכרים. So since you cannot cook from Yom Tov to Chol, the Meragizera should not cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos unless you make an Eruvei Tavshilin, כאילו you started cooking מבעוד יום. Also there's a Gezerah, you might eat everything on Yom Tov and you don't leave anything for Shabbos. So if you leave a heker to remind you to leave for Shabbos, then you are allowed to cook from Yontef to Shabbos. This is to cook in a separate pot. But in the same pot, if you cook l'tzorech Yontef, you're allowed to be mosif l'tzorech Shabbos. How does an Eruvei Tavshilin work? You take a tafshil or a tzli, and you make a brocho, Baruch Ato Hashem, Elokeinu melech haolam, asher kiddushonu b'mitzvotav v'tzivonu, al mitzvas Eruv. The other way you say, Behadein Eruva, Yehe Shorilon, Le'afuyei, Ulvishulei, Uleatmunei, Uleadlukei, Shrogo, Uleme'evad kol tzorchono, Miyom Tov leShabbos. And it can be Moisef, Lono ulechol Yisrael, Shebe'ir or Shebemedino hazos. He has to understand what he's saying, otherwise he has to say Beloshon HaKodesh or Beloshon Shemedaber. The brocho is not me'akev. The tafshil has to be something that you usually eat with bread. The ochlo im path, like bosor, dogim, beitzim, but something which is not usually used to eat with bread, like cereal, it's not good enough. Shulchan Aruch tak Chav Zayin Siv Dalet. The shir is a kazayis, even for 1,000 people. The mitzvah is to be mehader after a mono yofo, a nice piece. In the chvoid ha-mitzvah, if somebody is baking, he needs bread, and the katchilo, he should use a shlemo. But if he uses a pruso, it's also kosher. If he uses pas, it's a mitzvah to use it for lechem mishneh on Shabbos, and to eat it for seudo shlishis. Since one mitzvah was done on it, another mitzvah should be done on it. Kivon de isabid bo mitzvah hado zivno, yisabid bo nami mitzvah achritho. But me'ikra din, you are allowed to eat it after he cooked for Shabbos already. If he's me'areh for somebody else, he has to be mezake al yedei odom acher. And you have to be mezake, zechu boze bishvil ploini u ploini, or bishvil kol bnei ho'ir azois. And the zoiche is magbiya tefach, and he says zochisi. The Eruv really works that you are actually cooking for Yontef, for guests that will come for Yontef, and whatever is left, you're going to give to Achila Shabbos. If so, the Rambam says you have to cook early enough to be able to finish the cooking before Yontef ends and be able to serve guests with that food. But if it's too close to Shabbos, it doesn't work. Therefore, Erev Shabbos on Yontef should be cooked early, before the tzibur says Mizmor Shir LeYom HaShabbos, because that is the Kabbalos Shabbos. The blech, anything you put behatmono, has to be also mibe'od yom. The cooking should be done Erev Shabbos, not on Yontef Thursday, if Thursday and Friday is Yontef. Has to be put away in Mokom Tzanua and Mokom Shomur. Once you started cooking for Shabbos, you can cook for Shabbos whatever you need, even if the Eruv was ne'evat, lost. But if it was eaten up and it was not nishar afilo akazais before you start cooking, you may not cook anymore. Letzorech Shabbos. What happens if somebody forgot to make an Eruvei Tavshilin and he remembered himself in the morning shacharis and nobody else made an Eruv for him in that same city? He may not cook only one kedero and one chalo and one ner the Shabbos. And if you remember before he started to cook for Yom Tov, he may cook in a large kedero, and whatever is left from that kedero, he can use it for Yom Tov. If there is somebody else, he could be mezakeh, his kemach, and his bosor, and his macholim, and his friend will cook for himself, and he can give it to him back. Usually, if somebody forgot to make an Eruv, and Yom Tov is Yom Hamishi and Yom Shishi, and he remember on Yom Hamishi that he did not make an Eruv, he can make a Tanai, of course without a brocha. And he says, if today is Kodesh, I don't need an Eruv. But if today is Chol, I'm making an Eruv, and Beden Heiruva, I should be able to cook today. And this is the Eruv. This is in standard Yontef. But in Rosh Hashanah, you may not do so, because the two Yomim Tovim Rosh Hashanah are ke Yoma Arichto. Ksivo v'chasimo tovo.